Hello, my friends. Hello, Wolf. How are you? Sorry about the extra moment to be on camera. I just needed to... I just needed to shut the window in the house because it's raining. And not that I was worried it would rain into the house because it was the porch window, but it's a little bit chilly. So, and I don't want Ghost coming home to a cold house after he's going to be outside for rugby. I cannot get my camera to do what I want it to do, you guys. It's just going to be... It's going to be one of those days. Hey, Squanchy. Hey, Roaming Witch. How are you? It's going pretty good here. Honestly, full disclosure, I planned way too much work for yesterday. And any normal, reasonable person would have gotten halfway through the day and been like, this just isn't happening, but that's not me. So I Kool-Aid manned my way through everything. Just in time to pass out last night. So I'm a little bit slower today because my brain is kind of like, we've been doing so much work. But this is like the last major writing thing that I have to do for the week. Tomorrow's tasks are pretty chill. So I think if I get through the afternoon, it'll be fine. Of course, it's raining and chilly here. And Ghost is supposed to have a rugby game with his school this afternoon. Although, hopefully where they're having the rugby game, it's a little out of town. So hopefully it won't be raining there. But we'll see. How are you, my friends? Squanchy, Roaming Witch, Woof, what are you up to? Anyone who's lurking, what are you up to? I hope you're having a good day. Oh my goodness, it's been one of those weeks. But, like I said, this is sort of my last big writing task for the week. So if I can get through this, I can at least take it easy, hopefully. I do have some wine in the fridge that I can have later tonight, if if that works out. It's cold in here. There must be some click-clacks in the atmosphere. Well, there's gonna be soon. Also, hello, Peter. How are you? What are you up to? Still at work, got my butt kicked again at kickboxing, and just about to continue on the guitar build. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the butt kicking, but I hope the guitar building is going well. Also, how did it go with the peanut butter? How did it go with the peanut butter in your hair? I assume you were able to get it out. I remember yesterday there was some talk of why is there peanut butter in my hair. It's been a second, just had a nap that was supposed to be a few hours. It lasted 6. That's an epic nap, Peter. I might be a little bit jealous. I shouldn't say I didn't sleep well last night, because I slept, but I kept waking up. And it was weird because it used to be that I would always wake up because I would hear noises. So now I sleep with earplugs, so no noises, but I guess maybe I kept feeling Ghost like moving around in bed because it felt like something was moving near the bed. And so I kept thinking that Ghost was getting ready for work because when he gets ready for work, he comes in and gives me a kiss and does a couple other things in the bedroom before he leaves. So I kept thinking that was happening and like jerking awake, but it was still like the dead of night. So I don't know how many times that happened, but I just did not like I kept falling asleep but not staying asleep. Flannel, hello, how are you, my friend? It was easy to get out, it was just weird. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you still don't know how it got there. Plot twist, it wasn't Ghost. Or not the ghost you're expecting. Yeah, no, that was what was so weird about it, Squanchy, was because I kept like, at one point I think I even like rolled over and like put my hand in Ghost's hair and I was like, okay, well it's not him because he's sleeping beside me still. But I don't know what it was that I kept being like, I don't know if he was just rolling around or if I was rolling around and just like noticing it. That doesn't really happen very often since I started sleeping with the earplugs. So it was just a little bit it was just a little bit weird. So of course I'm a bit groggier than normal today because I didn't sleep the greatest. 1 year older today. Happy birthday, Flannel. I believe it's Whoop's birthday as well. Called out. Happy birthday, my friends. You can share your ages if you like. No obligation. You can lie. You can tell us that you turned 22, and we will pretend to believe you. It's Milnes's birthday today, too. Holy moly. We should be having a Twitch party for all these birthdays. It's the other ghost that wanted to get comfy. Yeah, it was trying to steal my blankets, Swanchy, and I didn't like it. Those are my blankets. It was my birthday a few days ago. I feel like all the good people are having great birthdays. Well, I hope you had a good birthday too, Peter. Happy birthday. My birthday's not until June, but I'm not one of the cool people, so that's fine. Ghost just had his birthday a couple weeks back, so there was some celebration of that. We still have one piece of his birthday cake left. We had some birthday cake last night, so he'll probably finish that off tonight or tomorrow, depending. Sorry, my eyes are watering because it's rainy, so the atmosphere changed, so I'm all sniffly and teary for no reason. Spot birthday to everyone. Spot birthday, everyone. Sorry, I couldn't resist. The funniest was poor Ghost. Every time he resubs to someone's channel, the response is just not what's expected. So every time he resubs to our mutual friend Flutter, who we've been friends with since, you know, middle school, every time he resubs to her, she replies with "fuck you, Ghost." And then last night we were hanging out in our lovely friend Vinyl Stencil stream. She was doing some alcohol art, and Ghost resubbed, and poor Vinyl looked up and saw our friend Bard's name, Bard Owl. So she was like, "Bard, thank you!" And Ghost was like, "Heck, wait." So he came up from, "Hey Bard, hey Vinyl." He came up from downstairs. Don't feel too bad, Vinyl, because he came up from downstairs, or Bard. He came up from downstairs and told me that he laughed so hard that he couldn't breathe. Like, he was in tears with laughter because that happened. But yeah, someday he'll resub and get a positive response, and he won't know what to do with himself. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it seems like it's been a busy week for everybody. Not just little Miss Overwork me over here in this house. I looked up and saw my name highlighted because Bard said Vinyl, and so I responded to that first, but I immediately thanked Ghost. You did immediately thank Ghost for the resub when you saw it. It was just so funny, and I know what that's like when you've got, like, because there were a lot of people in your chat as well, so when you've got, like, 3 things going on, plus you were doing something that requires you to look away from the screen. So when, like, 3 things are going off and you just look at and see the first thing, of course, you just associate the sound with the thing. I mean, I probably would have done the exact same. And like I said, Ghost laughed so hard, so, like, there's no reason to feel bad. But of course, he's gonna give you a hard time about it, because he's a Chaos Goblin, and that's what he does. And that's his favorite thing to do. So, anyway, oh my gosh, part of me, I'm gonna be honest, because it's a rainy afternoon and I worked so much yesterday and my brain is just like almost 3,000% done with this week already. Part of me just wants to go make a hot tea and just sit here and talk the whole time and not do any actual work. But it's supposed to be a productivity stream, so, this year, I've been working on the 22 Stories in 2022 project. So we're going to be working on that today. For anyone who saw my super long stream yesterday and is wondering, I did finish the novel. I was pretty much finished with it when we wrapped up the stream, but I was super hungry. So I took a final look at it after lunch, and I just added like 3 extra lines in another scene. So that novel is finished. We started that back at the beginning of March. So it took about 2 months to get through the edits, and I went through the second book, the 5th book in that series, the next book in that series, yesterday afternoon and evening, and I outlined my edits for the next installment, so we'll be starting that on Monday. Hopefully going to be wrapping that up sometime in June, and then the end of June and July will be devoted to book 6 in that same series. So that's basically what my big project is going to be for the next few months. I do have, we kind of have some company coming in the next few weeks. Not next week, but the week after. Ghost's parents are going to be here to build some garden boxes in our backyard. Which probably sounds rude to say, but that was what they said they wanted to come and do. So there might be a few less streams for a little while they're here. But I'll still be working on that major project on stream as much as I can. And hopefully, when we get closer to July, I'm going to be starting a brand new project from scratch. We're going to be doing some world building on stream, and some outlining and all the stuff that I don't usually do on stream because I'm mid-series with everything and it would be very spoilery. So, just to catch everyone up on what's going on for the next few weeks. He did enjoy it, Vinyl, absolutely. Like I said, he's gonna give you a hard time because that's what he does. But he laughed. Also, let me know if my sound balance is off at all today, guys, because I'm trying to balance so that I get a little bit of noise blocking from the music, but if the music feels like it's too loud for the stream, I can bump it down a little bit. I was just saying to Megan, it's been a hot second. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a little while, Peter, although partially I usually assume that it's due to the time zone, because I know that you're quite a bit further ahead in time than where Ghost and I are. I think we're like 8 hours behind our friends in the UK, and depending on where you are, because you might actually be 1 hour ahead of our friends that we usually roleplay with, so you might be like 9 hours ahead of us, if that's the case. That was a really awkward way to say that, but I'm saving all my brain power for this writing prompt, which today's writing prompt is even the animals notice the change, which I'm a little bit more excited about than some of the other prompts that I've been doing recently. It feels a little bit more, it feels like I have to get a little bit more creative from the outset, because I have to pinpoint specifically what the animals are reacting to. So I don't have to sort of, I feel like with the last couple prompts I've kind of been cheesing them to make them interesting to me. This one feels like it's interesting by default, if that makes sense. It's time zones a lot. I've been sleeping in a sort of regular normal human time. Yeah, I figured, Peter. And like, we understand that too. We understand if like you only come around for a little while and then go to bed during like the D&D, or if you miss a D&D because you're sleeping, we get it. That's why, at least for Winds of Chaos, they always upload it onto YouTube for people to watch, because we know the evening Pacific time is inconvenient for people who have to, you know, sleep at decent human times or work on a Wednesday. So, we understand, but we're glad to see you when you're around. Jay Chili, hello! How are you? What are you up to? I'm just about to describe what I'm planning on working on today. I've been sort of... Oh gosh. I'm gonna sneeze, maybe. I might sneeze. I apologize if I sneeze. Doing well, how are you? Doing pretty good. It's raining here, so I'm a little bit sniffly. I've got my hand socks and my my fuzzy blanket and everything. And I overworked a bit yesterday, so my brain is like, I don't want to do anything. But aside from that, doing pretty good. Like, I'm really happy. I just don't know how much work I'm going to be able to make my brain do. Hand socks! I love these things. My hands get so cold, you guys, especially after I eat. Like, I ate lunch. I take them off when I eat because I don't want to get them all messy. But then I eat lunch and I just kind of stick my hands like this to get them warm again. So sleeping is inconvenient sometimes. It is, but also it feels so good. I missed a Flutter stream a week or so ago, and next thing I know, everyone's like, wait, Flutter's going away. Where's Flutter? We miss Flutter. Flutter has been traveling a lot lately, so she hasn't been streaming a lot. I think she's away for like 2 weeks as well. She wasn't even on Winds of Chaos this past week. She will be next week. She'll be calling in from a hotel. But they were on the road this past Tuesday. Her and her family were on the road, so she wasn't even able to call in to the Winds of Chaos. So if you want to hear Wolf and Collie splitting Kiona's accent between them, you can check out this past week. Sleeping is a waste of time. Yeah, sometimes I feel that way too, but also I just really like to sleep. But I've been looking back over my prompts that I've been writing since I started this. We're on prompt number 9. So far I feel like I've successfully avoided like directly writing main characters. I know Dameron has been popping up in the periphery of these a lot, so I'm gonna be avoiding him completely today. But I also noticed that I haven't written 2 prompts in the same dimension of the multiverse yet. Every single prompt I've done has focused on relation to a different one of my stories, which was not part of my original challenge, but I like it, so we'll see how far I get. I don't actually know if I have 22 separate worlds in the multiverse. I'm kind of a little worried that I do. I don't know if I want to know that. I don't know if I want to know how many branches there actually are on this wheel or tree, but so far I've been able to avoid writing more than one scene related to any particular dimension. So I'm going to be trying to keep that up. I'm definitely going to keep it up this week because I'm going to be working in a world that I haven't worked with since we started this. And this is going to be, the working title of this particular world is called Mad Max because it's a Mad Max style post-apocalyptic world, which I'll talk about more in a minute here. We need more hours in the day so I can spend 12 hours sleeping guilt-free and still have time to do my thousands of hobbies. Exactly, Roaming Witch. That's what I feel too. Or just make the week double long and half of those days you get off. I don't know, that feels like it makes more sense to me. I feel like my version of Kiona would just be a lot of what in tarnation and fuck y'all. I think what in tarnation is not the area of the South that Kiona's accent comes from, but it would be funny to hear her say that. I'm still up for playing Kiona, except I know nothing about D&D. That's fine, Peter. If you play with an experienced group of D&D players, they can very easily introduce you to the mechanics. I'm putting together a campaign for some friends. It will be played off stream, just before anyone asks, but one of our players is new to D&D. He's played other tabletop RPGs, but he's never actually used D&D's system. But I'm pretty sure we'll be able to just walk him through it because everyone else knows the system, has played the system, has a fairly firm grasp of the system. So yeah, if you're playing with experienced people, it's pretty easy for them to get you set up and walk you through it. And I remember, hopefully Vinyl doesn't mind me mentioning this, but Vinyl recently played her first D&D game when she came to visit. Her and Collie came to visit here, Ghost and I, and Collie did a one-shot for us, put together a little one-shot, and Vinyl played a barbarian, and she was great at it. I know she had help putting the character together ahead of time, but still, everyone needs help with their first D&D character. So yeah, it's actually pretty easy to pick up on if you have people who know the mechanics. I did a one-shot with the Disaster Bastards a few Christmases ago. It was so much fun. I managed to talk a sentient rug out of killing someone. That is very good, because those rugs are deadly. Immediately stepped away after saying hi. Got the day off, so just chilling, sipping on a hot cup of tea. I don't know if it's as dreary in your area as it is in ours, Vinyl, but today's a good hot tea day. I'm finishing up, I've got some pink flamingo that I'm finishing up. I don't actually like this tea as much as I remember. I don't know if I steeped it too long or if it just was never as good as I remembered. But I'm gonna finish this up and then have possibly some wild rooibos. Shall see. That one shot was fun. It was super fun. And Collie did almost kill us. It was a couple times. It's way too sunny where I'm at. I want some of the rain. I wish I could show you guys. I don't think you can see out the window though. It's just white. And even if I try to like cull the amount of light coming through, I think it's just because the sun is not out, but it's still like, now I've done it, I've wrecked my camera, there we go. Raining quite a bit today, yeah, I was just saying before I started I had to shut the window because it was getting pretty chilly in the house. I am in the big time mood for a sandwich, but I have no bread, no butter, no cheese, or anything for a sandwich. Oh no, Peter! Do you have a bagel? You can make sandwiches on a bagel. Not that I think we should spend another stream talking about bagels, but it is a thing. We're supposed to get the entire monthly rainfall in the next 3 days. Oh no, not again. I noticed when I looked, I won't look at the forecast now because it'll flash my town name again. I've learned from that lesson. But I think it's supposed to rain the next few days here. I don't know if it's supposed to be an entire month's worth of rainfall in 3 days, but it's gonna be... Although then again, it's been pretty dry so far this spring here in our area, and we need that rain before the fires come. Thankfully, May's rainfall average is not super high. That's good at least. This is why we need Megan and Ghost and Vinyl and Flutter podcast, so you can talk about bagels as much as you like. We did a lot of talking about bagels yesterday, and it made me hungry for bagels. So, but anyway, the setting that we're working with today, as I said, it's sort of a Mad Max style post-apocalyptic world. The main difference is that instead of it being sort of nuclear fallout that caused, or war that caused the crisis on this world, it was basically kind of almost like my modern fantasy world that I'm working in, the Autobiography Chronicles, where it was a planet that had, you know, big cities, kind of like ours, but instead of using electricity, most of their technology was powered by magic. And so they would basically pump magic out of the ecosystem. They had sort of learned how to harness all of the magic that sort of flowed throughout their world and turn that into energy, but it was also used by very powerful sorcerers for all kinds of, you know, reality warping sort of things. And like, instead of, I mean, they probably had regular medicine, but they supplemented that medicine a lot more with magic. And so they basically had this society that was using a lot of magic, and you can probably see where this was going, is that eventually they used so much, or they were pulling so much magic out of the ecosystem that the source kind of dried up, and it wasn't able to keep up with the amount of magic that they needed. And so basically this magic sort of evaporated from the environment and disappeared. And so suddenly you have this whole society that's powered by and driven by magic that has no magic and can't access magic. And so their society collapsed, their world started to change because it no longer had this vital part of its ecosystem. And so when the main part of the story takes place, it's several centuries later, and you sort of see the survivors sort of trying to pick up the pieces in this warped world and trying to find some way to survive. But I'm actually, since the prompt today is even animals reacted to the change. I'm going to do something a little bit earlier in that timeline. It's going to focus on the first signs that maybe the environment was changing and that this crisis was coming, signs that ultimately ended up being ignored in favor of convenience. And so it might be a little bit more exposition-y than some of my other prompts have been. But it'll get me thinking about the mechanics of this world and sort of how it worked prior to and after. So it'll sort of give me a before and after look at like the mechanics of the world, which is appealing to me as well, because it's very good world building setup for when I actually go to write that novel. So that's what we're gonna write today. I'm thinking sort of like a science-y convention type thing, that some of the mages will be attending. The mages and scientists will be attending to talk about, sort of like if you imagine when they have conversations about the climate crisis today on our world, and then we promptly ignore that. It's going to be something like that. It's not necessarily meant to be a parable for what we're doing to the world right now, but it certainly will probably draw on elements of actual life experience. So we'll see. They would pump magic. The one guy called magic. Sadly, not that kind of story. Not that kind of ending. Need to eat off to the 24-hour store and get some food before it closes. I don't get it either, but I'll be back. Good luck. I don't understand the 24-hour store that closes, but I hope they have bagels and other sandwich things. Have the fires always been bad as they have been in the past few years? So it goes in cycles here, Roaming Witch. My understanding is that every so many years, BC will have a really bad summer, usually because it's hot and dry. And then usually what will happen is one of the other provinces near us, like a few years back, there was a really bad fire at Fort McMurray. In our neighboring province. So usually it's like the places around us will get a bad year, and then eventually it cycles back around to us having a bad year. I think 4 or 5 years ago we had a really bad summer, and then last summer was really bad, but in between it was just kind of like, not normal, but not as bad. But I have done enough reading on the topic that experts are saying that it has been worse in our area than it has been in the last decade. So that's getting worse year by year. It's getting more extreme. The weather's getting more extreme. The more extreme it is, the harder it is for them to keep the fires in control. And you have to keep in mind that in our province and the surrounding provinces, especially as you go further north, there's miles and miles of forest that isn't necessarily observed, isn't necessarily occupied. And those are the hardest places, because if a fire lights there, you can't really do anything about it. They have to try to strategically pick the areas that they're going to protect. And it's particularly bad when we get a lot of fires in populated areas and the teams get stretched very thin trying to keep everything under control. But also keep in mind that something like 12% of Canada's carbon emissions every year come from forest fires. And that was prior to the last few years, in which now they're saying that the percentage of fires that we've had is much, much higher. Like, we've broken all of the records that they keep in terms of how bad it's been. So to answer your question, some years are worse than others, but lately it's been worse than usual. It hasn't always been this bad. Stop at fire? Yeah. Bad fire. We don't want you. What's really interesting, this is not necessarily related to how bad the fires are, but what's really interesting is you can tell when we have a really bad smoke year sometimes, because the wines from that year will actually taste smoky. And we have a meadery in town that we go to quite frequently, and they have a sicer, which is sort of a sparkling cider type mead. A sparkling mead. It's like the precursor of cider. They call it cicer. And they put cherry juice, local cherry juice in it. And the year that we had the really bad fires, it was the same. It tasted really smoky. So I imagine that all the wines from last year, all of some of the local ciders that are made, or the ciders at the meadery that are made from local produce, will taste distinctly different from years that are bad fire years, because it gets into the air really heavily and it gets pulled into the root system and it gets translated through as that sort of smoky wine. I mean, it depends on the wine, right? So with red wines, it can enhance the flavor. With white wines, you probably don't really want that. But it also, I think, there's a lot of other factors involved, right? Because wineries know what they're doing. They know how to balance their flavor profile. They know how to pull some of that out. But it is interesting to note that, well, wines do taste different per year anyway because of the environmental factors, but that is something that is often noticeable. So, hoisted by your own Picard, woof. So anyway, yeah, I wanted, like, asterisk disclaimer, I'm not necessarily setting out to write a parable about climate change, and what happens when you exploit the environment. It's just something that I thought would be interesting if there was a fantasy setting where they had basically used this fantasy resource of magic in the same way that we tend to use fossil fuels, and sort of assumed that it would always be there because it's magic, right? And I think we have this idea of magic as being something that, because it bends reality, because it defies the laws of reality, that it's infinite and inexhaustible. So I thought, what if there was a place where magic was finite and exhaustible and it was overused to the point where it sort of vanished? And so what if you had, because we are a society that doesn't have magic, that I think we're sort of enchanted by the search for the idea of magic, and what if we had a society in which magic was normal and mundane, but now they don't have it, and so they're sort of living in search of this thing that used to be normal to them that's now become almost legendary. But like I said, this is going to be a bit of a precursor to that setting. It's going to be a bit of a world-building exercise for me to sort of basically take everything that I just said and put it in expository form as a cool little thing on my blog. What did I say this was? Story 9? Story 9. Indeed, indeed. Do I use OBS? Hello, Autumn Queen. I do use OBS. You can't see it because it's on the screen opposite where I'm showing my screen. But it is what I use. My husband used OBS and he set it up for me. I can try to answer your questions if you have any, but keep in mind that other people have mostly done the setup for my stream, so I might not know the answer. But I know there's several other people in here who do also stream who might know if you have a question about OBS and its functionality, so let me know. Been told to use OBS. My understanding is, I know a lot of people who use Mac like Streamlabs better, but my understanding is that OBS is open source, and so you get access to all of the features without having to pay, and it's sort of kept up to date and functional and polished by the community, because that's the point of open source software. The layout that I use was given to me by a friend of ours who's also a streamer. I don't know if she's lurking at the moment, but a nice lady by the name of Victoria. Let me see if I can give her a shout out. I'm just actually opening her channel because I know that it's not
You have reception out here? Oh yeah.
it's not spelled called? Oh, Vinyl got it for me already. That's, thank you, Vinyl. I know that Victoria made a layout for Vinyl as well. I just sort of was very fortunate that Victoria came to hang out in one of my early streams, and she had put this purple layout together, and she thought it would work well for me, and she offered it to me, and I was like, yes, please, thank you. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's perfect. It works perfectly for me. But I know there's lots of places where you can find other layouts online, and then I just use, is it Stream Elements? I just use Stream Elements to set everything up. I'm very not entirely sure how to explain how anything works because I'm very new at this, but if you have questions that I can't answer, like I said, other people might know how to do it. I noticed that I've been talking for like 45 minutes, so I'm gonna do a sprint timer. I just need to decide where I want this scene to start. But I think I might just sort of throw myself into the fire. Also, I need to blow my nose. I do apologize. Let me turn on a thing for a hot second while I do that. Yeah, I think you just load the image into Stream Elements, and then you can add things like the text in the chat box and stuff. I know that our good friend Flutter also makes layouts, but I have no idea how to do it myself. Oh yeah, friend Bard makes layouts too. I have so many artistic friends, like... I just love how many artistic friends I have and being able to support them. I mean, I wouldn't know where to start with layouts, Bard, so, like, I think it's awesome that you know how to do it. I'm going to get quiet for the next 20 minutes. Shocking, I know. I was just gonna say there's a little bit of break in the sun in the clouds, but it's still actually pouring down rain, so can't count on the sun to perk me up. I gotta do it myself. Double shout out, indeed. Anyone who's writing, Bard Owl, are you writing with us today? Get your pens, pencils, clicky-clack keyboards ready to put some words down. Also, how are you, Bard? Need help with OBS, Autumn Queen? Or writing? Or just in general? Like, I also need help, just in general. No judgment. Playing Gas Station Simulator? That doesn't sound like writing, Bard. Also, what the heck is Gas Station Simulator? Do you run a gas station, or do you use the gas station? So many questions. Or do you simulate are you the gas? Or are you the station? You run a gas station, okay. Not quite as exciting as being gas, I guess. Would that be exciting? I need to shut up and do words. Enjoy your lurk, Vinyl. Gas Station Chan. Isn't the Mafia after you in that game? What is the freaking... Oh, Bard, if you want to play a game, play a game. Don't let me tell you otherwise. Although writing is good, if you want to do it. Need to write, just haven't in so long. Well, the clock's ticking, Bard. Chop chop. Yes, Wolf, it's Momarin. Hence why her name is already in my friggin' custom dictionary. You can tell by the number of spelling mistakes that I'm just letting word correct that my brain has at least partially checked out. Normally I don't just by default let word correct everything, but I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Brain power limited. trying to think really pretentious, like, presentations. This guy is like, these are the pictures of our everyday world, but do we ever stop to think about what they really mean? He oozes pretension from every pore, hopefully. No! What was your question, Autumn Queen? I may have missed it. You can just ask here in chat and see if anyone knows the answer. Also, this is singing in it, apparently. Are you trying to find a layout, or are you trying to figure out what to do with the layout once you have it? Where you can find one? If anyone has any suggestions, please toss them into the chat. I think I know a site, but I'll check after the sprint timer runs down. Sometimes you can just Google free OBS layouts on Google and see if something pops up, but it takes a bit of hunting. No worries, no worries. I mean, I told you to go ahead and ask. I just don't want to click away from my Word document until I finish the sprint. That would be cheating for me. That would be me cheating. Me cheating me. Bard, that's very generous of you. I'm struggling to be as pretentious as I want this guy to be. Pretension doesn't come naturally to me. Break time. 840 words, not bad. I got tripped up a bit on the guy's speech because they wanted it to sound like... I wanted it to sound like intelligent, but also like he was speaking down to everyone. And I was struggling to get the dialogue where I wanted it, and since I'm not planning to edit this, I kind of wanted to nail it a little bit more than just being wishy-washy with it. But I'm pretty happy with how this has started. I feel like I've established that the lecturer is giving information, but in a not the best kind of way. Yeah, Bart is in our Discord. Bart has already done the shout out. I was gonna say if you do ! Discord, you can get into the Pepper Patch. We have a section there that is for writing, although you're welcome to use the whole Discord, and you can find Bard hanging out in there in order to PM her. Also, I get it. My initial budget for streaming was basically zero. The only thing I've spent money on was my emotes. I commissioned a really awesome artist within our community, another streamer. It's Mumbles, who I will shout out unless someone beats me to it, as usual. She's amazing. She did all of my cute little emotes. But yeah, aside from that, I have also basically gone with free resources, free music. I was very fortunate that Victoria gifted me this layout because I also would have had to make do with whatever I could otherwise. So it's rough. I get it. Yeah, I know. I saw Mumbles do some of your emotes on stream, Bard. It was really cool to watch her actually color them in. She's great. And I will say it makes sense to, if you're gonna spend money on streaming, like, I feel like the best place to put your budget is into emotes. Because you're gonna want to get an artist that can do something custom for you. And obviously, art like that takes several hours. You don't want to ask an artist to work for free. But you can also find some really good artists on Fiverr. I know Flutter got like 15 emotes. She got like a 15 emote package she got a really good deal on. So like, it's possible to find that stuff. And theoretically, once you hit affiliate, you can start actually taking your Twitch money and putting it towards that kind of stuff, which was what I kind of did. So yeah, I get it. Putting together a stream on a budget. My first stream was, I mean, if I actually turn off my overlay, this is basically what my first stream looked like. It was a Word document and a face cam and a post-it note saying that I might be quiet during sprints because I didn't know how stream elements worked. And yeah, and a friend saw that and was like, no, my dear, you need to have a thing. So she gave it to me. I gotta get Mumbles to make me a browse emote. I don't have a browse emote. I think my favorites, I mean, I love all of my emotes that Mumbles made for me, but I think my favorites are my bit emotes, my grumpy and angry Domerin. I desperately want that angry Domerin on a shirt. But, I'm planning to, when I'm able, I haven't been able to get another round of emotes yet, and I'm kind of waiting to unlock the follower emotes. I haven't been an affiliate long enough to unlock them yet, because I wanna do a few tweaks to the emotes I have, but I want to get, for my 10k bit emote, I want to get one of those, like Domerin laying on his back, just done with the world, emotes. I know, the browse emotes are so good. I like too that like you notice that the brows move differently on all of them as well. So each one is actually very unique in that regard. Can't imagine what's about to happen. Uh-oh. So yeah. Anywho. I think this is going pretty well. I'm trying to decide if I should make tea now, but I still have a little bit of this left. So maybe I should do... maybe I should do another sprint and then do the thing. Tea for me in the afternoon. I can't drink coffee in the afternoon, unfortunately. Hydrate. Thank you for the hydrate. Too early for alcohol, squanchy. Don't tempt me. I've got half a bottle of wine in the fridge called Vintage Ink that I 100% bought because it was called Vintage Ink and I'm a writer, and I was like, that seems on brand. And it's really good. I think it's a local, I think it's a British Columbia wine as well. It's like a wild white, so it's a blend of a bunch of different types of like white wine grapes here in BC. I'm not sure which winery actually puts it together, but it's pretty good. For something that I randomly bought because I was like, hey, I'm a writer and it's called Vintage Ink, it's pretty good. I had a bottle of wine called Donkey's Ass. Squanchy, that sounds great. Was it a red or a white? I will admit that I buy alcohol purely based on the labels. It was a red, that makes sense. Was it good? I bought one white wine that was called Kung Fu Girl because it was called Kung Fu Girl, so I was like, that sounds great. Welcome back, Bard. I hope it was a good call. A quick, easy call. So yeah, I had one because it was called Kung Fu Girl, and I bought a rum because it was called Dead Man's Fingers. And it has a skull on it. It's okay, all wine tastes the same to me. I'm very much into, I can differentiate white wines now, like white and rosé wines tend to do it for me. Red wines for me are like too smoky, earthy, not my type of thing. Ghost really likes red wines. I'll go get the Dead Man's Fingers and show you. Like I said, I buy all my stuff based on the labels. I don't know if I'm supposed to show this kind of stuff on Twitch, but this is Dead Man's Fingers, which I bought because it has a skull on it and it says Dead Man's Fingers. And then we liked that so much that we got we got the pineapple version. Dead Man's Fingers pineapple rum. So yeah. And this one, the nice thing about the regular Dead Man's Fingers is if you just put it, drink responsibly, kids, but if you just put a couple shots of this in a drink with some Sprite, it tastes like banana cream pie, which is amazing. I buy shit for their packaging. Yeah, that's what I do, Squanchy, is we just go to the liquor store and I just walk up and down the aisles and I'm like, that has an interesting label. I bought a rosé that was called Pink Elephant. Because I was like, it's called Pink Elephant. It's a sparkling rosé. It was super good. So, yeah, but no, I probably shouldn't get into the alcohol this early. We also have a gin called Doctor's Orders that we bought because it has like stars and interesting looking people on the label. So, yeah. When Ghost picks like an alcohol to buy, he like takes a picture of the label and he Googles it and he looks for reviews, and we have this little app where you can actually like scan the label of a wine, and it will like give you like community feedback on it, like community ratings, and people will say like what the wine tastes like and give it a rating and everything. He does that. I'm just like, hey, this one's got a skull on it and it says Dead Man's Fingers. What if we drank it? That's my method. Let us do one more sprint and then we'll make some tea. During Prohibition time, doctors actually made a bunch of money by selling prescribed alcohol. I believe it. There were a lot of things that started during Prohibition. I don't know that it started during Prohibition, but it's also interesting, like so many alcohols are made from different alcohols. Like the process of producing vodka and producing gin is the same, but it goes through, I believe, I might be remembering it out of order, but I believe if it goes through the clarification process a fewer number of times, it's vodka, and if it goes through it more times, it's gin. Also, moonshine. Moonshine is like that first little bit that they pull off when they're making other alcohol that's like super duper strong and not watered down like the rest of it. That's moonshine, and the reason why moonshine used to be very dangerous was because if they took the really strong stuff and drank too much of it, you could have serious problems from that. Also, there was a point in time where absinthe would make people hallucinate because of the wormwood. They've fixed that now, like we know how to process it now in a way that doesn't make people hallucinate, but that's why people associate absinthe with hallucinations, is because back in the day when they first started making it, they didn't know how to handle the ingredients properly or how to make the ingredients safe every time. And so you would get batches where people would drink it and they would have hallucinations. If it's got a skull in it, it's gotta be good. Exactly, Bard. Exactly. My neighbor gave me some of their basement moonshine. Now, see, that's where I would be worried, is if someone handed me basement moonshine. But that's what it is. It's basically when you're in the process of making other alcohol, there's always a certain amount of, when they draw it like out of when they draw it out of the still and when they draw it out of like the big drums, there's a certain amount of alcohol at the beginning when they first draw it off, which is much stronger alcohol that they can't use. And what some distilleries do is they'll take that and they'll use it to make moonshine. Stryker only accepts living room moonshine. That's right. You gotta have standards. Ground floor moonshine and above only. Hey Tempest, how are you? We're just about to start another sprint. Bard, if you've got your document open, you can join us. Or anyone who's lurking can join us in the sprint if you would like. We're gonna do one more 20-minute sprint, and then I'm going to do a bit of a longer break, have a bio break, and grab some tea. So let's do that. I'm also, for anyone who's joining us midway through, I'm writing this really pretentious guy at a lecture, at a like science lecture. So it's fun, but also hard. Because the pretension doesn't come easily. Still figuring out plot stuff? Hey, if you're putting words in a document, it counts. even if it's just notes. If you're staring intently at your screen thinking about what to write, that counts too. The Dazer, hello! Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. How are you? What are you up to today? I might be a little quiet because we just started a sprint, but please feel free to introduce yourself in chat. Didn't do any writing today? Well, I'm just getting started, Tempest. There's going to be a couple more sprints for sure, so feel free to join anytime. I promise I won't spend the whole time talking about the booze I'm not drinking this afternoon. Just been lurking, enjoying the process. Hope everyone's day is going well. Thank you for the lurk. Super appreciate it. Going pretty good. It's still raining here, I believe, but not letting that slow me down. Like how I look. I'm like, is it still raining? It is. is weird. It sounds like it's melting. I don't know why that U kept wanting to slip in there, but get out of here. About to drop the prompt name in the prompt. Even animals responded to the change. need to find a TV show to watch so I can stop watching the Depp trial. Oh no! I know almost nothing about the Depp trial going on right now, but I definitely think watching something else would be healthier. For your sanity. What type of shows do you like, Tempest? Chat can hopefully recommend something if you tell us what type of shows you like. Sci-fi, fantasy, crime, horror. If you haven't, you've probably watched all the sci-fi stuff that I've watched, but The Expanse is really good, and it's got 6 seasons. The last 2 seasons aren't as great, but The Expanse is really good if you haven't seen it. The Foundation, which is on Apple TV, if you have it, is really good as well. Only 1 season so far, but hopefully we're gonna get a second one. If you have Prime and you haven't watched Wheel of Time, also pretty good. I'm assuming that you've watched all of these, though. I'm not thinking too hard about shows right now because I'm trying to finish out the sprint, but I'm sure people will chime in with suggestions. break time. Let's see. I believe I started there. So 900 words, that's sprint. Pretty good for a total of 1,740. I'm feeling pretty good about how this one is going. I don't know if I'll finish it on a next sprint or need another one, but I'm not too worried because my brain is actually cooperating quite a bit now that I've gotten into everything. I'm still trying to think of more shows to recommend for you, Tempest. If you like comedy, Woof, also a friend of myself / the stream, recommended the BBC show Ghosts. Sorry, plural, Ghosts plural. There is an American version of the show. I haven't seen the American one, but the British one was really good. It's sadly quite short. I think there's only 6 episodes per season and there's only 3 seasons, but it's super funny. I really enjoyed it. I'm hoping they make more. It's sort of about a haunted house, and it's about the ghosts that haunt the house, essentially. And you sort of, as the show goes on, find out more about why each of them is a ghost and how long they've been a ghost. So that one was really interesting. I enjoyed Lucifer, although it's kind of more of a paranormal romance than a cop / crime show, but it follows the crime show sort of method, I guess I should say, or like framework, if you're into that sort of thing. But it does really, really center around the romance, so if you're not into romance, you might not like it. I don't know a lot of horror, unfortunately, and Ghost isn't around for me to ask because he would be much more into the horror. Watched Lucifer, really disliked Wheel of Time. That's fair. I'm just trying to think of recent shows, but again, I'm assuming you've probably watched all of them. So I'm assuming you've seen Stranger Things and Good Omens and all that kind of stuff. If you like historical stuff and satire, although I didn't find it very funny, there's a show on Prime called The Great, which is about Catherine the Great. It's not really historically accurate, but it's a fairly interesting show. Very adult show. Very good actors, great cast. I don't know that I'm a huge fan of it, but it entertained me for a hot minute. If you have Disney Plus and you haven't watched it yet, The Only Murders in the Building was pretty okay, and I guess they're making a season 2 of that, so... but again, these are fairly popular new shows, so I'm assuming that you will have probably seen them. I live under a rock, so if it's not popular, I probably haven't heard of it. And if it's popular, you've probably watched it already. This is the one that Wolf recommended to us, the BBC Ghosts show. Not this one, which is the US one. We haven't tried that one, but the BBC one, it's pretty funny. The last 3 you recommended I've never heard of. I did it! The 24-hour store was closed. Peter, why does the 24-hour store close? By the time I got there at 11 p.m. That's... the whole point of a 24-hour store is that it's open 24 hours, isn't it? But yeah, Only Murders in the Building was pretty good. It's on Disney. It's on Disney Plus. It's got Steve Martin, Martin Short, Selena Gomez. I don't know why I'm Googling them because it's not really showing anything interesting. I forget what the other one I mentioned was. A 23. Yeah, well, it's definitely not a 24-hour store if it closes. Oh yeah, The Great. On Prime. Also on Prime, we didn't like it, but there's a show called Tales of the Loop, which is a really sort of bizarre sci-fi show. That each one of them is like a short story. We ended up not enjoying it because we didn't really like the characters or the way they presented the story, but it might be more up your alley. Twilight Zone wannabe, Tales of the Loop, yeah, it is. Instead of being like aliens and stuff, it's more like weird forces. But we found that the show was very sort of pretentious and drawn out, so we didn't end up enjoying it. But that was just our opinion. So they're lazy bastards. They used to try it slyly before the pandemic, but since Rona, they've fully embraced closing early and no one can call them on it. Well, that sucks, Peter. I'm sorry that you weren't able to get food from the store. To be fair, the Depp trial has so much crazy stuff it could be made into a TV show. Oh my goodness. It could be, but that doesn't mean it should be. Sorry, pardon the stretch. If anyone has any TV recommendations for Tempest, please let us know. I'm sure there are people in the chat that have watched way more interesting shows than me. Got some noodles? Well, that's good. Tasty noodles is always a good thing. Whoops. Alright. We've done 2 really solid sprints, and I am out of liquid refreshment, so I am going to do a BRB. I'm going to put the kettle on and get some tea steeping. I'll probably come back and chat a little bit while it's steeping and then go grab it again. So we'll have a little bit of a longer break this time around, and then we'll do at least 1 more sprint. I think I'm probably going to need 2 to finish this off, but we'll see. I feel like it's going really well, especially considering when I turned on stream, I wasn't sure if I could get my brain to focus at all. At some point it will be, if Tiger King and Pamela Anderson can get drama shows based on their lives. I just gotta say that my opinion on the whole Depp trial is that it's 2 people who had a rocky marriage, whose lives are basically whose drama is basically being dragged in front of the public eye. And I can't imagine it's pleasant for either of them. I also don't know who recorded their arguments, because whose first thought when you're having an argument is to record it. But yeah, it's turned into quite a public spectacle. Well, I mean, I respect your opinion, Peter. I don't really have an opinion of the whole thing, because in all honesty, I don't touch that kind of stuff. I stay away from that kind of stuff. It's very damaging to my mental health to get even onto the fringes of that kind of stuff. I think that every couple has problems to varying degrees. And I think most of us get to keep those problems behind closed doors and not have to deal with other people's opinions of our lives, because most of us are normal, everyday people who live behind closed doors and aren't public figures. And I think that dragging those problems out in front of the public is good for no one. It's not good for the people involved, and it's not necessarily good for the people who are witnessing it either. Haven't really been watching it. Fully appreciate that it's not for everything, but the way it's being broadcast isn't right. Yeah, I definitely... I mean, Ghost and I just had a whole conversation last night that I won't necessarily repeat, but sometimes we, as people who live in the world, need to understand that our opinions, like, we don't necessarily get to have an opinion on everything, and or our opinions on things don't necessarily get to matter, if that makes sense. Like, we don't know either of these people personally, and so just the way that the public seems to kind of take pleasure in watching the two of them tear each other apart, it's not a healthy outlet. It's just not good. It's not good to be exposed to that kind of drama, and it might feel good in the moment to like watch it happen. It might be one of those sort of like, this is a slow motion train wreck that I can't look away from kind of things, but it's gonna have an effect on the people who are watching that and chiming in on that and all that kind of stuff as well. So it shouldn't become the public spectacle that it has, but it is what it is. Yeah, I pretty much agree with what Coffee said. It's not really the kind of thing that should be. And like, apparently there were people who were like, should we let TV shows into courtrooms now? And it's like, no, we shouldn't be turning court cases into TV. Like, holy man. Hey, Laurel Tabby, how are you? As I was saying, I'm just about to pop AFK to put the kettle on for some tea. It just got super dark. If you want to... It's going to look the same. It's not going to look any dimmer out the window than it did before, unfortunately. But it just got... To my perspective, it just got super dim compared to what it was. So I guess we're in for a big storm tonight. I better text Ghost and tell him to text me when he's on the way home. I'm assuming that the game will not be cancelled. Or I would have heard something by now, but we'll see. There's always been these kinds of dramas. I know that some of this stuff, like, I know this isn't new. That doesn't mean it ever should have existed, and I have the same feelings about things like Maury and Jerry Springer. Like, all that kind of stuff did was stir up shit and get people involved in shit, and a lot of that stuff was, like, fake or dramatized for TV anyway. It's the same with Judge Judy. Like, I'm sure a lot of that stuff was, like, real court cases, but, like, they put that stuff on TV for a reason? Somehow it's amped up and become more in recent years to the point where shows like America's Got Talent massacred as entertainment. Yeah, I mean, I generally have a bad opinion of reality TV. Having a public trial is the least of our problems. Well, and I mean, one could argue that they invited the public into this by having a public trial, but again, probably not going to spend too much time on it. It's the kind of thing where I'm sure everyone has strong opinions, and if you guys want to talk about it in chat, I don't so much mind as long as no one gets upset, but I probably won't linger over it. But if anyone has ideas for cool TV shows that Tempest or the rest of us can watch, please do let us know, because that way we can watch things that are not that. My grandma really loved Maury. She watched it all the time, and I was like, all right. Just replying to Coffee there in chat. Laurel Tabby, I'm sorry if I missed your response. I hope you're doing well. We are actually writing. This is just an interlude. I promise you productivity is taking place. But I'm gonna get some tea first because it's super grim outside my window right now, and I'm worried that I will fall asleep because I've run out of iced tea. So I'm gonna go put the kettle on. I'll be back. Started rewatching a show from the last few years called The Last Ship. I've not heard of this. Completely forgotten about it and got to rewatch it, and it's about the last Navy ship that survived after a pandemic. Oh, interesting. That reminds me, Tempest, have you seen What We Do in the Shadows? I assume you have, but if you haven't, the first 2 seasons are on Disney Plus, and it's super funny. I love it, personally. Chef's kiss. I can't wait for the 4th season of that show. Also saw the movie? Yes! Tempest! High five! That movie is so great. The only reality type shows I'll watch are cooking and home decorating shows. I feel you. I've completely watched the, like, home shows to see, like, what people do with, like, space and, like, how they arrange rooms and stuff. Sometimes I'm not even paying attention to what's going on in the foreground. I'm just looking at everything that's in the background because I want to know, like, how they arranged the house and, like, how they're dealing with storage and that kind of stuff, because that's, like, I go onto Pinterest and just look at, like, pictures of organizers and, like, shelving units and stuff like that. We've been watching No Reservations, Anthony Bourdain. It's one of his older shows. The last 2 seasons of it are on Prime, and then we've just sort of been hunting out the rest of the show. But it's pretty good. It's interesting to see. He sort of travels the world and experiences the different cultural foods. It's a very respectful show, I find. And it's very real, like when he goes into an area that's a really poor area or an area that has had a lot of strife, he talks about that kind of stuff and he shows the effect of it. He goes into poor neighborhoods and he eats with them and he talks with the people who talk to him, and he's basically like, real talk, this is how people live here, and some of it's really eye-opening. If you liked the What We Do in the Shadows movie, you will definitely like the show. Very much same tone. And I think Taika Waititi was in the movie, and I think he was like the driving force behind the movie, and I'm pretty sure he directs the show as well. So it's like 100. Shouldn't say 100%, but it's definitely like his creative vision. The show is really good, Peter, for sure. I recently discovered a show called Barbecue Pitmasters. Ooh, that does sound fantastic. Makes me want barbecue. I feel like you'd love a game called House Flipper. I have seen certain other people. I saw Victoria play House Flipper and put a toilet, like, in a bedroom. Anthony Bourdain did commit suicide a few years ago while he was filming a show. It wasn't No Reservations. It was a show that came after that. And it has been a little tough because, real talk, in No Reservations, he has a really dark sense of humor, and some of his jokes about offing himself don't really age well, given the circumstances. But yeah, this was obviously all prior to, this was filmed while he was still living, because he's the host of the show. My mom and I love the seasonal baking competitions. Oh, heck yeah. Seasonal baking competitions. The best. Alright, I promise a break. I'm going to take a pop AFK, put the kettle on. I'll be back to chat a bit while my tea is brewing. And then we'll get some more writing done. Okay, sorry about that. I have my tea brewing now. We are going to have some wild-grown rooibos today. It is one that I haven't drunk in a while. Also, since this is evidently the tea portion of the stream, I had been subscribed to the David's Tea subscription service for a year, which I thought would mean that I would get 4 boxes, which I got, and then that would be done. So I was implementing a strategy to get my tea stash under control, and I was like, yeah, I totally have this figured out. It's all fine. And then I got another box from David's Tea, guys, and I have a whole bunch of teas that I wasn't expecting to have, which I'm not complaining about. And also, I don't think I have too much tea, but it was a lot of unexpected tea. So I have a bunch of new ones that I haven't even looked at yet because I'm still trying to work through some of my other subscription box teas. But this Wild Rooibos is one that came in one of my previous boxes. I think it was the fall box. It's super light, super yummy, so we're gonna have that today. Thank you for the welcome back, Peter. David loves giving his tea. Indeed. Well, either what happened was that the subscription was for longer than I thought, because I just assumed it would be 4 seasonal boxes, but because it was a birthday present, it could be that I'll keep getting boxes until June, or also just that they give out more boxes in a year subscription than I thought. Or it's possible that the person who subscribed me just decided to keep me subscribed for another year because they couldn't find a better service to switch me to. Because Canadian subscription boxes can be a little bit, they kind of get you sometimes with the shipping. So it's possible that that's what happened. Either way, I'm not complaining. There's some really interesting teas in there. I just kind of didn't have space for them in my kitchen when they arrived. So I was like, oh. Also, I'm subscribed to Dollar Tea, which is another cool Canadian-based tea service. And I got my subscription box from them on the same day. So I just had 12 new teas arrive in one day. And I was like, oh, this just happened. There's no such thing as too much tea. You need to drink more tea. I do need to drink more tea. I kind of have recently stopped drinking tea on the weekends. So I think I will start trying to drink more tea on the weekends again. I also haven't been drinking as much tea in the evenings because I've been drinking more wine in the evenings. So, there's that. I love Taika Waititi. He's just so unique and a different voice in film. I really like him too. He's super talented. He's as talented on camera as he is off camera. I will say I didn't like Thor Ragnarok, and I don't like that he's known for Thor Ragnarok because I feel like it's actually his worst film, and there's so many better projects that he's done that he deserves recognition for above and beyond that one. But most people know him as the director of Thor Ragnarok, so at least they know about him. I don't know how much tea you have, but you definitely have too much tea. I have a lot of tea, Tempest. I'm not gonna agree that I have too much, but I have a lot. It's overflowing the confines of the areas that I assigned it to. So I need to find new places to put it, essentially. I think actually the problem isn't so much that I have a lot of tea, it's that the way that the tea subscription packaging comes to you is it's a lot of small packages of different teas. So if I had a way to store loose leaf tea in a more compressed fashion that wasn't a bunch of bags that it comes in, it would be a lot more organized, but there's no easy way to organize loose leaf tea without buying a bunch of small containers. So it's less the amount of tea that I have and more that I don't have a way to organize it, if that makes sense. I accidentally bought the same flavor of box tea that I already had and forgot. Oh no! I've done that. I have done that before. I've been like, I need to get more of this, and then I buy the box and I go to put it away and I'm like, oops, I already had a box of that. Oh well, now I have more. That would be quality content. Chef's kiss. Thank you, Peter. I can see Ragnarok was pretty okay. I hated Ragnarok, but he's definitely better than that film. Yeah. I'm glad, me too, I'm glad Marvel made him well known. I feel like Thor Ragnarok was the worst of the Thor movies. It was very empty-headed. It was all humor. It wasn't as intelligent as the previous movies. And Thor was one of the few series that I liked because it was more sort of intelligent sci-fi. I'm not a huge Marvel person. For anyone who's listening to this and is like, this is outrageous. What is she talking about? Thor is the best. Disclaimer, I'm not a big Marvel movie person. I mostly just watch them for Ghost. I haven't even seen all of them. I never watched Civil War because I can't stand Captain America. So if you're like, if you have strong opinions about Marvel, don't be offended by anything I say about Marvel because I'm not the target audience, but I do really like Taika Waititi, and I just feel like he has done so many better things than Thor Ragnarok. I might stick the second box to my mom's Mother's Day gift. Oh, that's a great idea, Laurel. I bet she'd love that. They definitely dumbed down Thor in that movie, and I'm not sure why. Yeah, I mean, also, like, they didn't do anything with Hel. Like, she was just kind of there, but they didn't really... I mean, you can't take Kate Blanchett and do nothing with her, like, let's be honest. It's outrageous using intelligent and Marvel movies in the same sentence. Fair, Tempest, that's fair. You got me on that one. I prefer DC over Marvel. I'm just not a superhero movie person. Anything that's, like, superhero related just isn't, like, as a consumer, I know what kind of stories I like and what kind of stories I don't like, and I'm just not the kind of person who consumes superhero movies. They just don't interest me. There have been a few that I've really enjoyed. I really like the new Spider-Man. I really liked Far From Home and No Way Home. I really liked those, which is very high praise from me because I'm not a superhero movie person. I've been enjoying Moon Knight because it's actually quite refreshing and different and actually uses real Egyptian mythology, which I'm really excited about. But I'm really not, I'm just really not a superhero person. So most of the time I really only watch that stuff to hang out with my husband because he loves that kind of stuff. So whenever someone is like, what's your opinion on this Marvel thing? I'm like, you might want to hit the eject button from this conversation because you won't like my reply. She just exists and she kind of does stuff, but she was absolutely not used as much. Yeah, exactly. They didn't do anything with her story. She wasn't, like, even her plan she didn't even really seem to have a plan. She was just kind of there. I have yet to watch Moon Knight. As someone who grew up on weekly television, I've lost patience with weekly TV. Oh yeah, we wait until the stuff, we watch in, like, chunks. The Boys are great. Yeah, I can't watch that show. That's too violent for me. Which probably makes me sound like an old lady, but I definitely have a violence threshold beyond which, like, it's clear to me that The Boys has over-the-top violence for the sake of having over-the-top violence and being edgy, and I hate that shit, so I have not seen The Boys. That was one that I told Ghost to watch without me. A lot of people have told me, like, I think you'd really like the humor in that movie, and I'm like, that's great. Is there a part where all the violence is cut out? I'm assuming no. I'm not that much into superheroes myself, but I grew up with Teen Titans on Cartoon Network. That makes sense, yeah. See, I grew up on, like, Adam West Batman, so, like, all of the new edgy Batman stuff, it's just, like, this isn't the Batman that I grew up with. I think we talked last stream about how the ultimate Batman for me was that noir-style cartoon where Mark Hamill was the voice of the Joker. That's, like, my ideal Batman. Anything since then, I've just kind of been like, no. Hey, Supernatural writer. Everything's going pretty good. I've gotten pretty far in today's writing prompt. I'm just brewing some tea. In fact, I think it's probably time for me to pop AFK and grab my tea before it oversteeps. So I'm going to go into BRB mode for just one more quick moment here while I grab that. I'm having some wild rooibos tea today. It was a good Batman show, I agree. And how are you, Supernatural Writer? What are you up to? I will reply to the rest of chat stuff when I get back. I don't want to have bitter tea. Got my tea. You can see this rich golden brown of the wild rooibos. I love the Adam West Batman. I would pay all my money for a Batman movie in the style of Adam West. Like, now we're in the era of the multiverse. You can fully have a more good-humored Batman. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because I grew up on the Adam West Batman, who is ridiculously, like, goody two-shoes. I get it. Not made for this modern world, but I definitely have a hard time accepting, like, the hardcore Christopher Nolan Batman as a result. Because I just can't imagine a Batman that runs around murdering people, really. Improvement from shows like Space Ghost, Mighty Mightor, I don't know that I've heard of that one. I think I remember Space Ghost. My project is just growing in length by the day, and I have to be okay with that. I mean, was it supposed to be shorter? Is that what's happening, Supernatural writer? Like, it's grown beyond the scope of what you originally thought it was going to be? That's why I don't watch TTGO. What does that stand for? It's too different from what I grew up with. Is that Teen Titans? Also, I get overstimulated by how bright all the colors are. Fair. Sorry if I don't understand the, like, abbreviations of something. I'm so out of touch with, like, superhero stuff that sometimes I don't know what it means. Teen Titans Go. Okay, I was gonna say, sometimes I don't know what it means until someone's like, it means this. And I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. That's what happens to all my projects. They start out reasonable and spiral into monstrosities. Honestly, that's what happens with all of my projects too. So I'm at the point where what is one book in my head is 3 books on paper, and I just accept that. But yeah. I'm waiting for the day Mark Hamill makes his live action debut as an older Joker against an older Batman, and I'm counting the seconds till that happens. That would be amazing. Mark Hamill is a fucking gem, you guys. I love him so much. He was in an episode of What We Do in the Shadows, and if you don't watch any other episode of that show, watch that show because it's one of the best episodes of that show. Is the one with Mark Hamill in it. And then you'll want to watch the rest of the show because it's amazing. But I love Mark Hamill. I'm so glad that he's started being on camera again. He was off camera for a long time because he was actually in a car accident when he was younger. That's actually why Luke has the fight with the Rancor in the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, was because that way they wouldn't have to hide the scars on his face. And that was, I believe, one of the reasons why he stayed off camera for a long time, and he did a lot of voice acting, obviously. But I love that he's started coming back on camera and being in movies and TV shows again, because he's so great. I have the opposite problem, was predicting 60k words, but the project seems to be 50k at most. I mean, don't despair too much, Tempest, because it's possible that the second draft will add some things that just didn't get into the first draft. I've had drafts grow on me by 10,000 words in the editing stage, but 50k is still novel length, so you're good there. Mark Hamill is the definitive Joker for me. Same. People will be like, oh, Heath Ledger, and I'm like, I see your Heath Ledger and raise you a fucking Hamill. Yeah. But also Mark Hamill was the voice of the Joker for like a decade. So again, for me, it's just like, that noir Batman is like my default Batman, and so that's my default Joker, and Mark Hamill was that Joker, so... I've just gone back to a project I put on hiatus 14 months ago, so stories can surprise you. Exactly. Also, that's awesome, Laurel. How are you enjoying returning to a project that's been on hiatus? We're going to do another sprint here in a minute. I know that I've basically taken, I think, like a 45-minute break, all told, between going on a bio break and brewing my tea. But that is normal for these particular streams because I usually brew a tea and also let my mind wander a little bit more because I'm doing less intensive work. For anyone who's joined midway through the stream, we're working on the 9th story in my 22 stories in 2022. I was checking to make sure it's number 9. It is. The prompt today is Even the Animals Responded to the Change, which we've actually managed to drop into the prompt. I'm currently working in my sort of Mad Max style post-apocalyptic fantasy setting, but before the apocalypse happens. And so I'm sort of writing like a science convention where they're sort of talking about how the change in magical flow is starting to affect their environment and how this could have long-term ramifications. And of course, now I'm reaching the part of the prompt where we're going to get some of the naysayers, the disbelievers, the people who are like, you're just reading too much into it, or this is just part of the natural process, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm definitely moving into getting closer to the end. I don't know. I do have a little sort of after the meeting part that I want to write as well. The main character for this particular prompt is going to talk to her mentor after the meeting, who is sort of one of the naysayers, and sort of get her perspective on like how she thinks they should handle everything. But I don't know if that'll be a separate scene or if it'll just kind of flow naturally. So I don't know if I'm going to finish it in one more sprint. I think I'll be able to get pretty close. So we'll see. I'm gonna put 20 minutes on the clock here in a second, and then I'm gonna look at chat first because I've just been rambling instead of responding to chat, and then I'm gonna put the timer up there so anyone who's working, who's writing right now, who wants to join in, we're gonna have 20 minutes of me relatively talking less. Let me just blow my nose quick here. Ooh, oh gosh, I almost knocked my camera into my teeth. That would have been not funny. What's the longest you've ever waited between putting a project down and picking it back up again? For me, 8 years, I think. I basically wrote a novel, abandoned it for like 6 years, wrote something else, and then went back to the original novel. Hey Kiki, how are you? I'm happier to be back working on it than I thought, and Hell is very happy I'm back with it as well. Nice! I find that, when I've stopped working on something for a while and I pick it back up again, I always have a fondness for it, like an unexpected fondness for it. Partially because I'm remembering how I felt about it the first time, and partially because I'm rediscovering it, right? So you get that sort of, that dual hit of goodness. Gonna use sprint timer as a working and stitch timer? Perfect! Your right eye is itchy! Oh no, Kiki, did something happen? I hope it's not like... I hope something didn't get in there. I had something weird happen to my eye on Tuesday. I won't describe it on stream because I think it sounds gross, but I didn't actually see what it was. I just felt it, and it felt really weird. But my eye was like super red and irritated for the rest of the day after that. So I was like, that wasn't fun. Let's not do it again. But I hope nothing got in there, because that would not be fun. All right, I promised productivity. I gotta get back into them clicky clacks. So let's have 20 minutes on the clock. Feel free to keep talking in chat. I will catch up after the sprint timer. Did you check the eye for spider eggs? Tempest. Oops, I forgot my headphones. I'm gonna have him mention peer review because Ghost brings it up a lot. I think it'll make him sound smarter. You say peer review and you sound smarter? That's how it works? Your peers are the type to have peer-reviewed projects, they're probably smart, thus implying that you're also smart. Cool. I've got a long-term project I've been working on, but it's been pretty inactive for a few years, and I have awful memory, so I worry I used all my best jokes in the first project, so I don't want to reuse them. I mean, I would say that your sense of humor has probably shifted quite a bit since you wrote the first one, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Every writer worries that they used all their good material in their last project or their first project and that they don't have anything left for the next one. If you have ideas that you want to write down, I wouldn't let that hold you back. Going back to an old project felt easier than starting a second new project? That makes sense. 6 months in and still waiting for a full manuscript review. Just wanted to share my woes. Oh no! I think that's not... I mean, I don't know turnaround times, but I know that some of them are quite long. So I wouldn't like freak out. I know a saying not to freak out is like one thing and not freaking out is another, but hopefully you hear from them soon, Tempest. That's the worst. It had to rain on the day that Ghost has rugby. Of course. It was sunny all week, and then they scheduled a rugby game. Right now because my cat got his manhood cut and now he's acting crazy. Oh no! Hopefully that won't last too long. I get that they're busy, but during that time I wrote a 109K project and did 37,000 words on a new one. And they can't read 82,000. I mean, keeping in mind that they might have like 20 projects of like 82,000 words to read, and I don't necessarily know where yours is in the line. But at the same time, I feel you. You'd assume that if they're requesting a full manuscript, that they plan to read it relatively quickly. That happened to you if you had your manhood cut, Peter? I don't imagine it would be pleasant.
My brain just blue screened. I couldn't spell a word no matter how hard I tried. I just got a text from Ghost. Oh, he's on his way home already. Nice. Typo on the text, but I had already spelled it wrong before you texted me. I know it says break time, but I feel like I'm one paragraph from the end here, so I might just go ahead and end it. Striker has 404, please restart her and provide delicious tea to restore to factory settings. Exactly. RWS Theater, hello! How are you? Iced caramel peppermint mocha graham cracker crunch macchiato grande? Is that what you're drinking? I've got some wild ribis tea. Doing great? I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually really happy with what I wrote today. I didn't know if I was gonna get basically any words out of my brain today, and I've gotten
2,770, so I feel pretty good. It is raining here, has been raining pretty heavily all afternoon. Not that that bugs me, I do like rain, but it is a bit dreary, so I knew that that wasn't necessarily going to help my brain function. But yeah, I know the timer's ended, but I'm just going to go ahead and try to finish this off because I think I only have like a paragraph or two to go. Ooh, we've got a hydrate from Halo Banshee. Thank you very much. And we've got a stretch. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that feels good. Thank you, Halo Banshee, for taking care of the streamer. We did just finish a pretty productive sprint, so that was a good time for the stretch for sure. Alright, I think that's going to be it for that short, which brings us to 2,859 total, just shy of 3,000, which is perfect. I don't want these to be too much longer than that. Let's see, where did I start that one? I think it was their mid-ish sentence. 1,140 words. I went a little over the sprint, so that makes sense. Let me catch up quick with chats. I'd be a bit sulky about it and salty. I could see that, Peter. RWS Theater, what are you working on today? How is Mr. Ghost? He's doing pretty good. He's just busy. They've started school sports back up again, so his schedule is pretty hectic. He's had to cancel a couple of streams. He had to cancel tonight's stream. Although I wonder, depending on when he gets home, if he might want to go ahead and pop on anyway, because I don't know that he's going to be any later than usual. But he might be super tired because he had to go out of town for a rugby game, and he may have had to do it in the rain. So he's just super busy. But I think he's happy. He's really glad that some of this school stuff is starting up again. He really likes to see his students get to be active and participate in sports. So I think he's doing pretty good. I don't drink much coffee. I drink soda more than anything. Might switch to Powerade. I see. I definitely don't drink coffee in the afternoon because I won't sleep. So I'm drinking tea instead. And a caffeine-free tea today at that.
I love rain, just not driving or walking a dog in it. That makes sense. I love to, like, sit at the window in the rain with my tea and just watch it fall. That's, like, the best. When I was a teenager in the early 2000s, the whole aesthetic was go and walk in the rain and be sad in the rain. And I'm like, whoever said that clearly didn't live in Scotland in February. I'm never really sad when it's raining. In fact, I listen to rain noises to be more creative. Because it's like my creative-inducing sound, my creativity-inducing sound. But sometimes if it's like always rainy, it gets to me a little bit. When we lived in England, it was too much. There was too much rain. It was the only time in my life when it was too much rain, and I was just like, I don't know if I can handle this much rain, you guys. Time to sleep, bye stream. Thank you for stopping by, Tempest. Super appreciate it. I hope you have a good night. I hope you hear about that full soon. Always try to. Halo Banshee, I know you're always taking care of me. I super appreciate it. Book 7? That's impressive. Thank you. Yeah, it's the next to last book in the Eternity's Empire series. I'm actually 2 chapters away from being finished editing the final book, book 8 in that series. They started out as being each about 50,000 words long, but the last couple books are more in the 60 to 70,000 range because they've grown a bit on me. But that is my Magical Girls in Space opera. If anyone's interested in checking that out. Very heavily Sailor Moon inspired and also based very heavily on mythology. My novel, Pirate Action Adventure, taking a break for the night. Nice! Breaks are important. Absolutely, you gotta recharge from time to time. Can I ask a maybe heavier question? Book 7 is the war for freedom, and there's always been a war going on somewhere, but when you write a book and think of a title, do you ever think of what's happening in the world in current events when locking in a title? In this particular case, I didn't. There's a war in the story, and it's been very clear in the story that they've been building up to a war for some time. The naming scheme for that series is always the something of something. The Light of Eternity, the Soul of the Earth. It fit the naming scheme and was pertinent to what was happening. So I did name it. I will say I named it probably a year and a half before current events kicked off. So it had kind of already been set in stone as that before certain things happened. I do often take current events into account when I'm writing a book, but usually my titles are just based on a naming scheme. Take that as you will. Sleep, what is that? I listen to thunderstorms and crackling fire. Maybe Creaky would too. Nice! Yes, those are excellent sounds. I used to do like a campfire type one, but I just kind of ended up settling on liking the rain noise better, and I figured having one like consistent sound would help. But I also do like I listen to ocean noises when I read, so I kind of try to have different sounds for different things. The fire sound is really relaxing too. I love the noise of rain and the noise of fire, but they make me sad listening to them because I want to hear them in real life. I get you. I grew up in a house where we always could hear the rain like bouncing off the roof when it rained, and then I lived in a bunch of apartment buildings after that, and I went like a decade without hearing that sound. So now I get really excited whenever it rains here because I can hear it bouncing off the skylight. One of my favorite drinks is a brand of flavored sparkling water called Sparkling Ice. It's pretty much the only carbonated drink I like besides Mountain Dew. Ooh, that sounds nice. I sleep to Ancient Aliens because Hulu doesn't stop after 3 episodes like Netflix. Oh my god. I could tell you stories about us watching Ancient Aliens. The man here needs extra noise at night because he's still not used to living in town. The traffic outside will wake him up otherwise. This is why I now sleep with earplugs, and it has changed my life. I never thought I could sleep with earplugs. I never thought I could sleep with something in my ears, but I was desperate and I tried it, and I sleep so much better now than I ever have before in my entire life. It's insane, because I just can't hear anything. But I'm intimately familiar with Ancient Aliens because
My husband has a love-hate relationship with that show. Sometimes he wants to watch it because he wants to laugh at it, but also be outraged by it. But then he gets to a point where he's so outraged by it that we have to take a break. And then after a certain amount of time passes, he decides that he is interested in laughing at it again, and we go back and watch more of it. It's kind of hilarious because he gets so angry. He gets so angry, but also we laugh about things that they say on that show all the time. I think Ghost's favorite is the one guy who was on there and he was like, how do they have the sex? So if you ever hear Ghost mutter that, that's where that came from. That's from Ancient Aliens. We also had an open fire growing up, and the amount of times I doze off laying on the floor in front of the fire and the couch is uncountable. Yeah, we used to go to camp and do like big like bonfire type things in camp, and I miss getting to do that. I haven't gotten to do that in so long. Can't do stuff like that around here because it gets too dry in the summer, and if the fire got out of control, you would have a forest fire on your hands. He can't stand having anything in his ears. You know, I didn't think I could either, because I don't even use earbuds, clearly. But once I got used to it, like, I was desperate. I needed something to block out sound because I was not sleeping at all. And I don't use the ones that go, I can actually show you, I have them here. I don't use the ones that go all the way in your ears. When I say earplugs, I mean these. These are the kinds that swimmers use. So they kind of, if I can do it, if I can get in camera. So they kind of sit in this part of your ear. They don't go into your eardrum. And even that I expected would bother me, and it did for a while. It took me about a month to get used to sleeping with them. And every now and then I still, my ears get a little sore if I get them in the right position. But I got used to it, and now I sleep like a fucking rock. And I've never in my whole entire life slept as well as I sleep now that I use earplugs. So it's not, like, super easy. It was rough for me, and it took some time to learn how to get them to seal in a way that actually, like, blocked the sound. But if he could give it a try for, like, 2 or 3 weeks, I use the earplugs for about a week, and then I throw them out and use a different pair, because eventually they won't stick anymore. But if he bought a pack of them and just gave one pack a try, he might be able to do it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't think I could do it either. I had really bad ear infections when I was younger too, and I can't use earbuds, like, but I've managed to do this, and it helps me a lot. Like, between the earplugs and the weighted blanket, I've actually discovered how to sleep like a real person, which has never happened before. I've been an insomniac since basically age 12. So I never have slept as many nights consistently as I now sleep with earplugs and a weighted blanket. It has completely changed my life. There's also apparently a show where people watch Ancient Aliens while high, because they want to milk all that they can out of that show, apparently. I'm worried about the earplugs going in my ear and into my head and living there forever. That's why I use the wax ones, Peter, because they don't actually go into your ear. They just kind of sit outside they sit in, like, the outer ear portion, and then you just kind of, push your ear a bit to get your fingers under there and pop them out. They're the same kind that you use for, like, swimming. I would never try the earplugs that you, like, actually push into your ears, because that terrifies me. I never thought I would need background noise when working or writing, but here I'm always putting music or the TV on at work and putting Discovery Plus or streams on while writing. Yeah, I've always used white noise because it's consistent and it doesn't have anything to distract me, and it puts me in a really focused state of mind. Music without lyrics works for me too, but there's something, usually on stream I don't listen to the stream music, I'm listening to it today. But usually when I'm like editing and stuff, I have my iPad out and I have my white noise on. The Light of Eternity is the first book, yes. That's the first in the series. Or, if I pop over to my Amazon quick, I can show you. There is a box set with the first 4 books in it. If you find that 7 books is too much to keep track of, there's also one that's just called Eternity's Empire. Let me see if I can find it. There's one that's just called Eternity's Empire that has the first 4 books in one go. It's in paperback and digital format. So if you want to just grab the first 4 books and read through them, you can grab there, or you can start with The Light of Eternity. Obviously, it's cheaper to buy them one at a time. All my books are also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you subscribe, you can read them for free, and I do get paid for that. Just make sure you connect your device to the internet at some point, either during or after the reading, so that it counts the page reads. And there will be a second Eternity's Empire box set with the second 4 books in it once they are written and out. In case you're like, oh, but I don't want a mismatched series, there will be a matched series all the way through, so. Yeah, I mean, he might not be able to do it, like, I honestly didn't think I could. When I say that I now shove things, like, into the forefront of my ear every night to sleep, I had it suggested to me like 20 times and rejected it because I was like, I'll never be able to do that. It will never work for me. And then I just hit that point of desperation where it was like, either I try this and it works and I sleep, or I'm never going to sleep again in my life. And it just ended up being really good for me. That said, if he tries it and it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? Like, he might not be able to stand it even being on, because you do have to kind of press them into the area until they seal. You don't have to push them into your eardrum. In fact, it says don't do that. But it will make contact with the outer portion of his ear, so it might not work. I would watch that show high. It's probably better when you're high. Buy Megan's book. They're really good. Robert Downey Jr. 2020. I wish. I agree with RDJ God. I wish. I put the radio on while driving, since I have anxiety. I think about silence. Yeah, Again, I used to also use white noise to sleep at night, and I thought not being able to hear that would bug me too, but what ends up happening is that I fall asleep really quickly and I stay asleep, which was neither of those things were things that ever used to happen for me, so. I used to be fine with silence, but then I started running from things mentally, and so I have to listen to music or stream when I'm doing everything. I have a love-hate relationship with silence. Sometimes I like a really good silent minute, but a lot of the time there's not silence around here. There's something going on outside, or there's something going on downstairs. Silence is really hard to come by, so I always have some kind of something in the background to block that out and to help me focus better. Since we're done with the prompt for today, I am probably going to wrap up the stream here, but before I do, it occurred to me that at the beginning of stream I didn't do what I normally do and come over to my blog. If you notice, the first story of the 22 stories in 22 has finally gone live on my blog. You can read it, and you'll notice if you visit that page that there is also a link to the VOD on YouTube. If you didn't get to see the stream where I crafted that story, it is uncut and in full on YouTube. I just exported it from Twitch over to there. I have done this with all of the different stories, so as they go up on my blog, you will be able to see them on YouTube. Because these don't have spoilers in them, like my novel streams do, I have been saving them. Actually, the first 7 are up. I haven't made 8 live yet, but all 8 of them are on YouTube, and this one will go on YouTube as well. So if you're interested in my process, in listening to me ramble about why I wrote what I wrote and seeing how everything turned out, you can absolutely do that. And if not, you can just pop over to my blog and read the first story from the 22 stories in 2022. That was the one, the prompt was a cat warns that a volcano is about to explode, and I just went full crazy with it. It was super fun. I really enjoyed it. So all of the stories that I'm writing on these streams will eventually go live on my blog absolutely free. And if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll eventually get a link in your inbox that will take you directly to those free stories as well, so you don't even have to check the blog every week. But every other Monday I post freebies, and every other Monday I post something about my life or writing or whatever on my blog, so you can feel free to check those out. Going to sleep is the only time I need silence. Yeah, and I've learned that silence is way more important to me when I sleep than I ever thought. So yeah, that on my blog is what all this crazy prompt stuff is all about. This one was Even the Animals Reacted to the Change. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Next week's prompt will be, I believe it's This Has Never Happened Before, which again is another one of those kind of like, this is really generic prompts that lots of stories are written about. But I'm kind of interested to see which This Has Never Happened Before event that doesn't involve one of my main characters actually gains dominance enough in my head to be written about on that stream. So yeah. I know there was a lot of really fast talking at the end there, but I think this is where we're gonna wrap it up. Would you ever write an autobiography? I honestly think my life is so boring, Peter, that I don't know who would read about it. But I do sometimes talk about my life on my blog, so if you're interested in a kind of watered down, lacking... Going back to our conversation earlier, I don't necessarily put my personal life out in public either, because there are some things that should be kept behind closed doors. But if you're interested in the watered down version of my life without all of the behind closed doors drama, I do talk about that on my blog. But I just don't think I'm interesting enough to warrant an autobiography. I don't think after I die they're gonna do introspectives on me. I'm just not that interesting. That said, I've been told that I'm much more interesting than I think I am. We hung out with some very awesome older gentlemen at a friend's house a couple years back before the pandemic. And we were talking to them just about, in general, about things that had happened in our lives. And one of them looked at me and was like, "You've lived a very fascinating life." And it was a highly, like, it was a compliment, because this guy was, like, in his 60s. And he was telling me that he thought my life was interesting. So I was like, okay. Vincent van Gogh said the same thing. I feel like Vincent van Gogh was so much more talented than me. But Peter, I really appreciate that you think I'm interesting enough to warrant an autobiography. Let's see, who is writing words? I think a lot of people are gaming today because it's Thursday. So let's see. I'm tempted to drop in on Sable Aradia because I haven't dropped in on her in what feels like ages. And she's doing writing sprints, so let me make sure she's not wrapping up here.
World said over and over something along that line. It's been a while since I read it. Yeah, there's all kinds of apocalypse stories.
It sounds looks like she's still gonna be going for a little bit. So let's drop in on her. I know Game of Tomes is over, but she helps to run an interesting event called Game of Tomes, which happens during Nano and Camp NaNoWriMos. So if anyone's interested in learning about that, she's a good person to ask. I know she often does the spiel when we raid her, although I know that they just did a Game of Tomes last month, so it might be some time before they do another one. She's super cool, super fun. One of the people who actually introduced me to the writing community here on Twitch, and one of the reasons why I started streaming my sessions. So let's go drop a little bit of love on her. Thank you so much to everyone who dropped by, chatted with me, hung out today. I really appreciate it. You're all amazing. We had some really interesting discussions today, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that we can talk sometimes about things that are a little bit heavier topic and still have such a chill stream. So thank you, because that is mostly in part to you guys being so awesome, more so than myself, because as we've established, I'm kind of boring. I will be back on Monday. I don't know, it'll probably be Monday morning because we're starting a new edit on stream. But I'll be back probably Monday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. There'll be a schedule on the Discord and also on the schedule section of my Twitch for anyone who wants to check that out ahead of time. And in the meantime, I should be on Ghost Pepper's channel Saturday night for Divorce Court. I think we're going to be playing more Hades. I don't think we have other plans this week because I think there might be an SAT. So that should happen if you need a dose of me before Monday. I don't know why you would. It's lovely how we vibe and can discuss things and have opinions, but nobody is ever like, listen here, you little shit. Exactly. We can have different opinions and we can have conversations and be super chill. And we can write cool, interesting things about cats warning that volcanoes are about to erupt. We all value and respect everyone's opinion. Exactly. And you guys are all amazing. Take care. Have a good weekend if I don't see you. I almost did a shout out instead of a raid. Whoops. Slash raid. There we go. Also, there's a sub raid call if you have the emotes and you want to use them. You can use any emotes, really. There's no requirement there. So thanks again. If you're writing, keep writing. Hey, Sans Creativity, we're just about to raid. But I'm glad I got to say hi. I hope you're doing well. As I was saying, I'll be back Monday morning, Pacific time, around 10 a.m. for anyone who wants to chill then. I'll be staring intently at my screen doing some novel edits. In the meantime, everyone, please take care. Have a good day or night wherever you are in your time cycle. And remember to be awesome, which won't be hard for you guys because you already are.
Or in this article that connects it to other articles, right? Like you've got these articles here which you have already linked and connected, and that's good.